Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. The Housing, Urban Development and Zoning Committee will be called to order for March the 3rd, 2022. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Davis,
Present.
Alderman Cone, Alderman Coder,
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Muhammad, Alderwoman Martin,
Present.
Alderman Narayan, Alderwoman Evans,
Present.
Chairman Boyd,
Present.
President Reed. 6 present, you have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have no minutes for approval this evening. We were going to be discussing Board Bill number 51 and 82. Board Bill 51 will be laid over possibly for next week. So we will not hear Board Bill 51. We will hear Board Bill 82. But before we begin, I just want to make sure I clear up any misunderstandings that any of the committee members have as far as the posting of this meeting. I understand there was a lot of confusion, and I certainly would like to clear it up for you. So if anybody want to raise their hand because they need clarity, let me know.
Chairman.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, I just know there was some email traffic on it. If you don't mind clearing that up, just if we have members of the public joining who are worried about, notice requirements and things.
Sure, thank you. Our rules, the Sunshine Law requires us government bodies to post 24 hours before a meeting. That was done. Our rules of the Board of Alderman, Rule 51 requires us to post 24 hours before the meeting. Both of those requirements were satisfied. So I hope that clears up any ambiguity. It was posted on the website due to the pandemic and how we've been operating. That has been standard, normal procedures. I'm not sure why anybody, was confused by it. Most of us have been here quite some time, and it makes the whole meeting very legitimate. So let's get that out the way. I did see there was a lot of traffic on emails and probably on social media. Be that as it may, we're going to put Board Bill 82 before us. I am a co-sponsor of Board Bill 82. What I would like to do is have some conversation around what should the city do with this next round of funding. The current funding that we haven't spent of the cash in the bank, and the forthcoming funding. So I wanted to open up for committee discussion. I know there are a lot of aldermen, who have needs in their community that know much better than anybody of what their needs are. And they may even have some citywide initiatives they're passionate about. So I just kind of wanted to open it up for discussion. I do want to come back next week and have another hearing on Thursday, probably at 1 o'clock, to present a committee substitute. So I want to open it up right now, let everybody know if there's something that you're interested in, development, programs, whatever it is, let's talk about it. And if you don't have an idea right now, that's okay. But please send me an email no later than Tuesday at 5 o'clock so that we can consolidate some of the requests that people have and move a bill out of committee. So with that being said, I'm just going to go around. I just want to have discussion, and I want to open up to all my colleagues that are here that's not on the committee, as well as we do have Mr. Connolly for public input. So let me start with Alderwoman Davis. Some of your thoughts about the ARPA funds.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For me, we have a board bill that could move out of committee today that will expedite some things that are critically needed. And we can also prepare ourselves with recommendations for the balance of the money and make sure that it's done right, because just talking about it is not going to get it in a bill. So I don't particularly have an interest and adding anything to the current bill. I'd like to see this bill move forward so the money could be spent as soon as possible. And because we have so many pots of money that we will be making decisions on probably for the next year or year and a half, and at least 5 that I know of, because the opioid money came through to the state, and the governor will be dispensing some of that money. So we have a lot of work before us. Spending time right now on trying to come up with some new things to go in this is a moot point for me. Thank you very much.
Okay. So there's some amendments in here. Alderman Koto.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. I'll email you as well, but I've been clear with both the president and the mayor's office that I'd like to see money spent on a citywide traffic calming, not just a plan, but actual traffic calming instead of a piecemeal approach, ward by ward, utilizing ward capital. I don't think that's an efficient way to do this. In light of our lengthy discussion about our own rules and TrailNet's report on the sort of staggering number of pedestrian deaths and traffic deaths in the city. I mean, we've got to do something to slow people down and make it safer for pedestrians. So I'd like to see that done. And then I haven't been shy about the fact that I'd like to see money for upgrades or basic maintenance to Soulard Market, a city-owned facility that had very little money is ever spent on. I couldn't even put a dent in it with ward capital. It's got between $7 and $10 million of critical capital needs. It's on the list. That's something that I know is on the capital committee's radar. But it's a public market. It has to be maintained as a public market per the original deed from the Soulard family. And I'd like to see it thrive because I think it serves all parts of our city. So that's my interest is getting some critically needed dollars for Soulard Market and traffic calming.
Thank you. Alderman Pam Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a caucus, we are putting together a plan to focus on our communities to see what the needs are and address it to make it inclusive for the North Quarter, but also to look at citywide, how it's going to impact the city in regards to the services that are needed and development within our communities. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first have a question about the timeline of this because we only have 2 full board meetings left. How is this going to work? Or do you think that a special session will be called?
Well, we have 2 options, actually. Thank you for the question. We can certainly suspend the rules for the purpose of bringing the board bill from second reading to perfection. And then we, of course, have an option of a special meeting. Yes.
So if we don't pass this out of committee until next week, just looking at the calendar real fast, the 11th is our last meeting before a break, right? So if we don't pass this out until next week, we'd somehow have to suspend the rules to perfect and third read.
No.
Or we'd have to suspend the rules to second read and perfect, but then when would we third read it?
Assign and die.
Okay. So this is really, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm really lost here. So this is the appendix or the attachment on this exhibit, is blank.
Yes.
So this is just a assessment of the projects that we all want for our awards.
Sure. So we had an option today to do amendments to the bill because it basically was Board Bill 82 was a shell bill. And so we have an option today to do amendments and pass it out or hold it over, or we can hold it and add more amendments next week. And I think what's probably the better option is to just do a committee substitute. And so that's why I'm asking committee members and all the Board of Alderman members, if they have projects or, you know, initiatives or ideas that they think will fit within the ARPA parameters, that they email it to me. We'll get it put into a committee substitute, almost like what we did last time with Board Bill number 2. And then we'll see if we take a vote on it. I'm going to schedule a meeting for next Thursday at 1 o'clock to follow up with this conversation.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Now, let me ask you, Alderwoman, though, is there anything that you could think of that, you know, should be a priority, you know, for the city that we should be funding with these ARPA funds to support our citizens?
Sure. I do think the traffic calming idea is great, as I think we all have the same issue on that. Repaving is still a huge issue. The last board bill that I was happy to support, it didn't have, it maybe had a block of repaving on South Grand in the 11th Ward, but the 11th Ward, the farthest corner of South City, I don't think the 16th and maybe not the 12th, I don't think any of us, and a little bit of the 13th, but a whole chunk of us had nothing in that bill. And again, I think we were happy to support because we were really happy to see that we were assessing the greatest needs. But I know that there are some main thoroughfares in my ward for sure that could use that. Bell Reeve Bridge is essentially crumbling, so that's something that's top of mind. But I'm happy to, you know, work like Alderman Coder said, you know, just work with kind of the data that we already have and suggestions that we have, and if we can kind of complement each other, I think that would be helpful, because again, we know our wards like the back of our hands, and we certainly know what people use and don't use and what's important. But if there's something that we could, you know, like a traffic calming or supplemental repaving, I think that would be huge, where we all benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. And that's something I think I like to encourage you to champion for your community. Alderman Orion, did he join us? Don't see him. Alderwoman Evans. You're on mute, Alderwoman Evans.
I was trying to get to it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as Alderwoman Pamela Boyd said, we have discussed some of the things that can be done, you know, to our wards, and we'll go forward with that.
Okay. Let's see, I see Alderman John Collins Muhammad has joined us. Alderman Muhammad, what we're discussing on Board Bill 82 are, you know, ideas or initiatives for your ward specifically and citywide that you think are important that we may want to, you know, put in this board bill. We're going to have another meeting next week on Thursday, and I like to have everybody's recommendations by Tuesday, 5 p.m. So is there anything that you like to talk about that you feel is important?
You, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. I'm here just to listen. I do have a list of projects that I think are important to the development and progression of St. Louis. I would email them to you and hope that you would email them out to the committee as a whole so we can begin the conversation. I don't want to hold up too much time here. I'm already late, and I do respect the time of the committee members. But I think one of the things that we have to focus on is street repavement and restructuring. I don't think that aldermen should be responsible for repaving streets in our own ward, and they eat up a bulk of our ward capital funds. So if we could allocate some funds for that usage, I think that would be definitely helpful and important as we talk about the overall road safety of our neighborhoods and our wards, and also redesigning and reimagining our LED lighting that we have on our traffic lights and our street light poles in the city. Most of us have our lights converted to LED, and honestly, Mr. Chairman, I don't see a difference in terms of lighting in my ward. I don't think that it's any brighter. I don't think that it's any more I don't think it makes my neighborhood safer. It definitely costs more. So if we could figure out a way to be a little bit more creative as it relates to the traffic lighting and street lighting, especially on residential streets, I think that that's important. But any other idea that I have, Mr. Chairman, I will email to you. And again, I hope that you would email it to the committee as a whole. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman, I think I've exhausted all the members of the committee. Now we'll go to members not on the committee. I'm going to go first to Alderman Brandon Bosley. Alderman Bosley. Okay, I'm just scrolling across my screen. Let me go.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay, okay. There you go. There you go.
Sorry about that. So what I would like for us to kind of consider, just a few things I'd like to point out, is a lot of times we have a lot of money going out here for healthy home repair right now. And one of the problems that we're continually saying is we don't have the workforce to be able to go out here and do a lot of these projects. I think that is somewhat false. I think we have not done enough training, particularly as a city, to ensure that the type of jobs that we need done and the scope of those jobs are things that we've invested into to ensure that we have people that are skilled enough to take those jobs up when we have things set aside that we know needs to be accomplished. So without the millions of dollars that we just put in housing repair, so it was $25 million, it'd be impossible with the workforce that we have right now, specifically individuals coming from all across the Midwest here to come over here and do these jobs that we need to be done. Because there are lower scale jobs that are going from area to area. They're not jobs that like the unions have, things that you'll be on for a year or two. They, are inconsistent with you going to the same area every day. So things are not necessarily, I would say, ideal for individuals who are a little bit more established. But I think it would be within our best interest to take a few $1 million, what I would like to happen in my particular area, maybe other people would agree, opposed to us having kind of a blanket of home repair dollars for the whole area. What I like to do is have a few $1 million sit to the CDCs in the areas, and us actually have employment for roofers, floor layers, individuals who have particular skills that can go from house to house with these home repair dollars. And if all you do is fix roofs, then you just go from house to house and lay the foundation for a roof to be fixed. And individuals come in as laborers and put the shingles on, or wherever the specifics are as far as laborers need to be done in the carpenters union, or as far as floors, different things that are specialized skills that aren't once again meant to be capitalized off of as a city. We don't have to spend $100,000 or on rehabbing every single house when there's not a company trying to make $40,000 off of that rehab. So I think it'd be within our best interest, especially in my particular ward. I could talk about everybody else, but just mine. I think it'd be important to have a healthy home repair team that we can hire, that we know that we have an electrician, a carpenter, a floor layer, engineer, and architect, those individuals who we know particularly that we need whenever we bid our contracts to go and do some of these jobs that are the exact same that's needed on the same blocks that we have, because they haven't been upgrades on those blocks for some time. I think it'd be important to have people who just go and do that particular job, opposed to outsourcing that for a long time. We got a few years, I think it's 2026, we gotta have all this money spent. So a few $1 million is not a lot. Not a lot at all, especially in terms of some of the elderly who haven't had any upgrades in their houses in a very long time. But we can definitely put a dent in some of our buildings that even after all these people are gone, we will continually say our architecture is something that we pride our city on. We want to save these buildings and make sure we create a safer life for the people in it. But we, within our best interest to have people who specialize in fixing up some of these things just on a yearly payroll, just going around the particular areas fixing those things up. So I think that's one thing that I like to see in my particular area: a healthy home repair team, opposed to just healthy home repair funds.
Okay, to that point, I want to let you know I did have a meeting this week with CDA, and we're working on strategies to have a capacity building workshop, maybe sometime in April, where we advertise, we open up, and we try to find as many contractors as possible in order to participate in the home repair program so that we can get to our citizens much faster. Also, this week, 200 applications are going out to people that have applied for Healthy Home Repair Program. 200 applications are going out to people who have requested to be part of the Healthy Home Repair Program, because they have to be on a waiting list. And then when they number call, they send them an application, then we have to wait for the information to come back. So we're on target to try to make that program much more efficient and create a lot more jobs for people in our community, because there is a shortage of contractors. So I have to say, I give kudos to CDA. They're on task with doing just that. So appreciate that. Next, we're gonna go to Kara Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having some technical difficulties here with my computer, tuning in from my phone in my office. I appreciate the opportunity. As you know, from our last hearing, I have a strong desire to see the city make some investments in our infrastructure with regards to the ADA compliance, sidewalks, and being able to access various city assets and be able to walk along sidewalks and things like that. So I've presented that list from the Office of the Disabled, and I'm hoping that we can get that as part of it. But I think I'd like to see a roundabout vision for these funds. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I'm hoping that there can be just a little more communication as we move through this, just about the broader picture. That's all, Mr. Chairman. I know you're doing your best you can, and I think we're all trying to get through this session. We're at the very, very end here. So if there's anything I can do to help with the communication side of it, or I'm happy to help.
And to that point, thank you. So that's a very holistic approach, and I know that's something that has been committed to you, and it is something I will ensure that we follow through with, because that's a great idea. You're making sure that our sidewalks and our curb cuts are disability accessible. So yes, and I do understand that a lot of times people teach about this comprehensive plan, but if you really talk to all the aldermen and we all put all of our stuff in one basket, we can create a comprehensive plan from that, versus just going out to have some consultant or somebody tell us what we really need to do, because our constituents are the one that's holding us accountable. So I'm glad that you've worked with the Office of Disabled on that particular project, because it is much needed. I know a lot of us as aldermen have spent a lot of money already making sure that a lot of our sidewalks are disability accessible. I know I have. I've spent quite a bit of money on sidewalks and curb cuts in the 22nd Ward. Yeah. So again, thank you. Alderwoman Annie Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in the committee. I want to echo the ADA and the sidewalks are really important to me as well. Especially knowing that our 50-50 sidewalk program has some challenges, and particularly for residents who aren't able to pay even their half. I think with this type of a cash infusion into the city, I think we should be looking at ways that we can help residents address those needs if possible. To the traffic calming, that's absolutely a part of it as well, that we make the streets safe for folks who are using all methods of mobility around. And I am curious, I believe Kansas City has passed sort of a one-time bonus for employees who worked through COVID. And I think that, noting that we don't have the money here to invest in long-term raises for city employees, but we do have the potential to give out a bonus for working through COVID as sort of a hazard pay award there. I think we should really look into that and reward those folks who've been able to stick with us through this pandemic, have done incredible work as we've all gone through this together. I am also interested in housing. I know that's something that you've talked about, Mr. Chairman, is making sure that we're building affordable housing. And I know that that is a part of SLDC's economic justice plan and some of the plans that they have going forward. But we're trying to figure out a way that we can make sure that residents of the city are able to stay here and live in quality homes and safe homes, and home repair is a part of that. Potentially building could be a part of that. So I don't have a specific proposal for that, but it's something that I've raised in conversations behind the scenes at this point. And then also sort of climate resiliency, like can we use some of this money to plant a lot more trees around the city of St. Louis, because we know that trees are going to protect communities as temperatures rise. They're one of our main ways that we can help keep people's homes cooler in the summertime, and investing in that type of infrastructure now, I think, will benefit us in the long run. But sort of overall, I'm wondering, is there a potential, I appreciate this forum, but since we didn't, since the full board wasn't aware that this conversation was going to be happening like this today, is there a time that we could get together with sort of a working meeting, whether it be just the HUD's committee with, those of us who are not on the HUD's committee joining in as guests, or if we could even bring in, the budget director or those who can advise us specifically around what these guidelines are and what other types of money are coming in from the city right now, so that we have a sort of better picture of how we can best leverage money against other money, or what is a better investment for ARPA dollars versus the RAM settlement money versus, the infrastructure bill. That type of a discussion, I think, could be really helpful and could provide a really meaningful opportunity for public engagement. And I realize that this is, if we're trying to pass out the next $249 million in the next week, that's probably not going to be possible. But I wasn't sure if this bill was addressing that second pot, or if this is just the last half of the first, or the last piece of the first half of that 249.
It's the rest, the 249 plus whatever's left over.
Okay.
But we don't have to spend it all at one time, though. Just like we didn't spend it all at one time back in, I think, August or what have you. So.
Okay, the intention of this bill is to finish allocation of the ARPA dollars by the end of this session?
At a minimum. The leftover, if you will. But
okay.
We can also allocate moving forward.
Okay, it's such a large chunk of money, and there was so much public engagement that went into that first 249 million, or that first, I guess, 100 and some million, that I would really love the opportunity to be truly public with these conversations. And I know that we have one member of my ward of the public here to testify today, but it's testifying on a bill that still has sort of fill in the blank on it. So I would love to have some more meaningful public engagement.
Well, sure. And that's why we want to have a meeting next week. We can create a committee substitute. The public gets a chance to come in. We do have all the public engagement that was done with the mayor's council that she created, advisory group. So we do have that, and we can move forward from that, and from input from the alderman in each neighborhood that knows what their constituents want, because we're the ones that get the phone calls, and they may not necessarily have participated in all those public meetings. But I like your idea of having some people come in, and Paul Payne and whoever, to kind of talk about the bigger picture with, I don't know how much anyone knows about the RAM settlement, because that seems to be pretty, tight-lipped right now. But we certainly know we can have some communication about how to spend the money. So I will look into maybe scheduling a meeting on Tuesday at 10 o'clock to see if we can kind of have that engagement meeting, because this is important. And I don't want anybody to think anyone's trying to shove anything down their throat or anything like that, and it's moving fast. But I think this should be a team effort, and that we should accommodate as many of our colleagues as we can, especially those from distressed neighborhoods. So I will look to having a meeting on Tuesday to, do exactly what you suggested.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Just see here. Oh, Alderman Ingracia. If I see your face, it's easier for me to recognize you. So I have to read when I can't see. I have to read whose name's at the bottom, and we have staff at the bottom as well. So Alderwoman Ingracia.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for the opportunity to weigh in, even though I'm not on the committee. I echo the sentiments in terms of what all of my colleagues have mentioned so far in terms of infrastructure improvements and traffic calming, not just a plan, but actual implementation. I'm very supportive of the Alderman from the 7th's suggestion that we should spend money at the market. I think Soulard Market is definitely something that's utilized by the entire community and not just a small portion of it. And the Alderman from the 20th's interest in making sure that we move ADA compliance forward here in the city while we have the opportunity, as well as the possibility of having some one-time monies go to our city employees, many of whom have just gone above and beyond over the past couple of years. I also am very concerned. I just want to make sure that we all remember that we do have a requirement under our new rules that we do have public testimony at all of our meetings, and at least once for board bills. And it's difficult for the public to weigh in today without there being specifics with respect to how the money is going to get spent. And then I just quickly wanted to just address the timing issue in terms of the Sunshine Law and our rules. I wanted to make sure you knew that I was just concerned because I understand that the city website can be updated, but that doesn't mean that aldermen get noticed. And so it seems a little concerning to me that this public would know in advance, but aldermen were not made aware of the hearing until after that period of time. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm interested in participating in the meeting on Tuesday and appreciate you being willing to make that happen. Thank you.
And to that point, Alderwoman, so the website, sometimes when there's a sense of urgency, you have to get in where you fit in right now. And so it was definitely posted within, the 24 hours, and aldermen were notified probably no later than 12, no later than 4:30. So even though you didn't get 24 hours, 23 hours is, reasonable for us. And oftentimes committee chairs would just call the committee members and see if they're okay with it and move on it. I didn't do that. I assume that, if you got notified in 23 hours, that'd have been good enough. But I certainly get your point. I understand. And that's why today we're not going to be voting on anything. It's about having a lot of good, healthy discussion, because even though the Mayor's Advisory Committee did a lot of good, hard work, nobody knows your community better than you. And sometimes, maybe those ADA compliance sidewalks didn't get noticed, but it's important. And so that's why I want to make sure as many of my colleagues as possible. I tried to do that even with board bill number 2. What's important to your constituents? That has to be first, outside of what's important to the administration, and not to be picking on the administration, but what is important to the people that you represent, because they represented you to lead and make, their quality of life a lot better. So thank you for your comments. Alderman Gunther.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also appreciate the chance to weigh in here without being on the committee, but thank you very much for this opportunity. I'll start. I absolutely agree with the alderman from the 7th and the alderwoman from the 6th about Soulard Market. My grade school principal runs Sharf's Farms down there every week, and every time I go down there, he tells me about the needs of Soulard Market. So I know that there's a large investment that needs to be put into maintaining the oldest market west of the Mississippi. So I think that's the alderman from the 7th hopefully will be leading this charge, but I absolutely agree that needs to be a priority. Of course, I also agree the alderwoman from the 7th, the alderwoman from the 11th had mentioned about more paving and infrastructure on Board Bill 184. When we were given the chance to testify, I brought up how South Broadway and Broadway in general is such a major thoroughfare and it's the largest street in the city of St. Louis. I was told that we have the opportunity coming up with our federal transportation dollars, federal infrastructure dollars coming in that will be going through the East-West Gateway Council of Governments. However, I know from projects in the past that we have to have some sort of match from the city. So I would like to make sure that we prioritize putting a match so that when that funding does come available, we will be able to repave all of Broadway. It is absolutely a wreck. And I think I've said this on multiple committee hearings. And then finally, the thing that I am going to be strongly pushing for and hopefully gathering the support of members of the board here. I already do have the support of the mayor's office. I've been working with the mayor's office quite a bit on this, but we all received a request from arts organizations in the city of St. Louis, asking that the city and county each contribute 5% of the ARPA funds towards arts and culture. I've had quite a few meetings with Regional Arts Commission, which in this report, it pretty much lays out that the RAC will be the organization that is in place to be able to help distribute these funds. But just to get it on record right now, and you're going to hear this again, but to get it on record right now, I had the Regional Arts Commission send me some information in the many meetings I've had with them over the last few months. It says that arts and culture nonprofits and their audiences have contributed $590.9 million into the city. The arts and culture section pays $240.6 million into residential households. So that is payment of artists in cultural institutions. And that generates $22.8 million of state and local government tax revenue. It then goes on to say that as of September 2020, the arts and culture nonprofits in the St. Louis region reported $35.8 million loss in revenue due to COVID-19. So I have pages and pages and pages of information about how much our arts and humanities and arts and culture have lost from COVID. A lot of them are not able to receive the paycheck protection funds or the other funds that have come out. So I will absolutely be asking for the support of the members of the board to put $10 million of our next round into arts and culture in our city. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk.
Thank you. And if you would reach out to them when we schedule the next meeting, I'd be more than happy to have them make a presentation.
Absolutely.
So that we get a much better understanding of how important they really are to our community.
And I will go ahead and I'll forward you the last paper that has all the details. Would you like me to invite them next Thursday?
Sure. Well, no. If we have a meeting Tuesday, they can come Tuesday. We can have public testimony on Tuesday as well.
Okay, you're having a meeting this Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to have another meeting before we get to the Thursday meeting, because again, I'd like to bundle all the recommendations up, Wednesday, so that everything can be prepared for Thursday discussion.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Alderwoman Sharon Tyus.
Mr. President, I'm just listening. I have a 30-year list way before any of you all. It's already been written down for many years, and part of them is going to be.
Alderwoman, can we see your video, please? We've got this.
No, you cannot. So I'm not going to testify. No, thank you, Mr. Thank you for the chair. Okay, goodbye.
Okay, all right. Going back to Alderwoman Evans, a member of the committee, and I think I saw Alderman Cone join us. Go ahead, Alderwoman Evans.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to know, is there a set amount of monies that's going to be designated for each ward, regardless as to the improvements and things that's needed, or all of this has to be presented and I guess selected on what you permit?
I think everything needs to be presented, and then we want to be equitable about how we distribute everything. I mean, certainly if somebody said, I got $200 million worth of stuff in my ward, that's not going to work, right? If you only have, $270 million or what have you. But yeah, just put your wish list together and let's talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. I saw Alderman Cone trying to get in. I guess he didn't get out. I'm sorry, Alderman Page. I didn't call on you. My bad.
No problem at all. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly echo a number of the things that I've already heard, such as traffic calming, that the Alderman from the 7th mentioned. I am fully in favor of that. I began a traffic calming plan with speed bumps in 2021, and funding to help improve that with a strategic plan for the city would be definitely on my list. I'm a big proponent of lighting to improve safety in my communities. And to that end, I'm working on 2 totally different LED lighting plans, one of which is a capital upgrade to a certain set of lighting in my ward, and another is a proposal that I'm making through the streets and Board of Public Service committees that's called Lighting as a Service. I won't go all the way down on the weeds, but I think these are lighting programs that will definitely benefit our city. I am definitely in agreement with the Alderman from the 3rd when it comes to home repair. And I would like to see us focus on it. Just earlier this week, I spoke with some of my constituents in one part of my ward. They're very concerned about getting facade repair funds, even more so than interior repair. You know, we have a large inventory of older homes, especially on the north side, but throughout the city. So I'd like to see more funds made available to help our citizens maintain these historic homes that they live in. Last for this moment, I am all about demolishing buildings that are beyond their economic life. And one that comes to mind, I won't go into the details, but we had a tragic event in just such a building in the 22nd Ward just a few weeks ago. So I think we need to be busy about removing buildings that cannot be saved, cannot be rehabbed, and then developing plans for reuse of the land that's generated by said demolitions. Everything else I will submit through the caucus and to you by email. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Alderman Narayan, you joined us late, and basically what we're doing is we're discussing Board Bill 82 as far as, you know, what are some of the needs of your resident?
I was listening in, so I've been following the conversation. I just wasn't able to be on video, so I didn't want to be on the Zoom call. I was listening along on YouTube on STL TV. So I think for the 24th Ward, the biggest concerns continue to be traffic calming. I know that I'm echoing the sentiment of several of my colleagues. Traffic calming traffic calming and repaving streets are the largest priorities. And I can easily have a list of traffic calming projects and streets that need major thoroughfares that need repaved to you by you asked for it by Tuesday, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I can definitely have a list over McCausland. Definitely has turned into a much larger north-south thoroughfare than it was designed to be. It meets both Highway 40 and 44, and it is a racetrack there. We've had several pedestrian deaths there. Something needs to be done about it, and it's not something that I have saved ward capital in an effort to try and address that, but it's something that with a one-time windfall that we could change that would increase the safety of the residents for generations to come and be a permanent fix to a real problem that we've had for decades here. And frankly, no single alderman has been able to tackle it because the way that ward capital is allocated, it would be essentially the only project that you'd be able to do for several years. So I think that would be a great project to try and tackle with this.
Okay, thank you. I think I've gotten most of the committee people. I'm going to open it up. Alderman Page.
Yes, one other thing I would like to add is that I've worked very closely with my neighborhood improvement specialist. We kind of work together as a team, and we have developed a very comprehensive street paving plan for my ward. And this plan is designed to work in concert with the state and federally funded street infrastructure plan around the NGA site, so that there'll be no overlap and the plans will work in concert. And I will probably be seeking some funding for that plan. I've already submitted it to the Streets Department, to the Board of Public Service. So they have the plan, they're looking it over, and I will probably be seeking some funding because it will probably exceed my ward capital.
Okay, Alderwoman Martin.
Thank you. It does seem like there's some crossover with what some of the colleagues are saying. And that said, I mean, I agree about the demolitions. I know I have several in my ward that I just can't afford to take down. The street paving, like I said, I mean, I'm just wondering if we could pick some items where we do already have, that way we're not picking and choosing, like from the vacancy collaborative or the streets department, where we already know and have assessments of where these funds are most needed. And that way they are distributed in a fair way.
I think that's a good idea. I think someone should reach out to Laura again, and she should be able to create a list pretty quickly.
All right,
So
sounds
thank you for
good.
that. I'm going to open up the public comment right now. I know we have Mr. Jerry Connolly, who has signed up. He's the only person I see signed up to speak. If there's somebody else that I have missed, Madam Clerk, just let me know. Mr. Connolly, you're going to be recognized? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm just going to turn my video on. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Good evening. Mr. Connolly, do you affirm or swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay. Please, again, for the record, state your name and the 100 block that you live in, and then proceed.
Yeah, I'm Jerry Connolly. I live on 3800 block of Botanical in the Shore neighborhood in the 8th Ward.
Proceed.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. Just, I mean, to revisit the kind of timeline of when this meeting was posted. I believe it was posted sometime around 3 or 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, maybe around 3 o'clock. But the deadline for registering to testify was posted as being 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So, 3 hours before the actual 24 hours in advance. I do appreciate the fact that the time was adjusted to be 2 o'clock today, but I mean, my head's kind of spinning here because we've got $250 million looking at allocating it. And the bill was introduced 8 months ago on July 9th. And I'm lost for words. Why has it taken 8 months to get to this stage? And, we talk about public engagement, but, the idea that people can come up to speed and try and prioritize what their hopes are for their neighborhood and ward in such a short time, despite some of the planning laid out by, the mayor's group, transition group, by the Capital Committee that met extensively in the fall. It just seems somewhat absurd that we're trying to fast track this in a week. And, the reliance of suspending the rules to get something through in time, if we can't plan on tracking a bill through in appropriate time, how are we going to really be sure we're allocating this money well? So I would just advise that you have, I don't know, maybe you could have a meeting a day every next week, but how are you going to get this information out in time? I encourage you to figure out a better way to do that. And Also, I know Mr. Rowe was on the meeting earlier from Planning and Urban Design. I believe his staff have been working on prioritizing neighborhoods for a planning process. And I think some of that is being funded. I don't know if it started yet, but it would seem that utilizing the work of that planning process to shape how this money is spent would be a wise way to move forward. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. And
You're
I look
welcome.
forward to seeing you on Tuesday and next Thursday.
Very good.
Let's see. So unless any other committee member, or I don't see anybody else on the committee that I didn't call on has anything, looks like we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
I have been here, Mr. Chair.
Oh, Alderman Cone, there you go. I was looking for you.
I did have my hand up there and I made some comments in the chat there.
I saw the
but,
chat, but I couldn't find you. That's why I mentioned it. If you show your video, I can easily identify you. So Alderman Cone, you're recognized, sir.
Yeah, I mean, my apologies, with the meeting being scheduled yesterday, I already had a conflict on the calendar for this afternoon, but trying to come up to speed here. So we're talking about the remaining funds from ARPA?
Yes.
Okay, so, and that,
period.
The remaining, what's that?
Period. Not just the remaining 40 million or whatever, but the whole remaining amount.
Oh, wow. Okay. And we're, okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. It seems, so this is in addition to the capital committee request, like what is the process that we're identifying projects? I mean, I have my own like quote unquote wish list, if you will, of different things, but like, do things have to be shovel ready, or like, I mean, like there's city departments even that I know need like street sweepers. We've got like 2 or 3 that operate for the whole city. We need new street sweepers. Are we talking to streets department to see what they need?
This is a public forum. Everybody's welcome to be here. I don't see anybody from the mayor's administration, but they were certainly welcome to sign up to speak. What a missed opportunity, but this is a public forum. I think what's really important is that, we as aldermen, as elected officials, as stewards of, about people in our community, we know firsthand what the big needs are. And I think it's important that we put our needs forward. And then the bigger pictures, citywide, like the traffic calming and the disability sidewalks program. But at the end of the day, I think it's important that within our communities that we make sure that we identify money specific to certain projects. Now, I'm not saying we're necessarily earmarking projects, but right now we have $20 million allocated for low to moderate income housing, and some of that is market rate. But is that enough? Well, I don't think it is. These monies is a citywide pot of money, but what is a real reasonable amount of money that the city should be allocating, about $500 million toward rebuilding our distressed neighborhoods? So and just me, and I haven't spoke about my wish list, but I'm really focused on rebuilding our neighborhoods. I mean, yeah, we need new trucks and all of that, and it seems like we did a good job with the Oldenburg's bill to do capital and use the other half of most of it, 69 million for ARPA funds to do a lot of capital needs. But let's not forget our constituents. Let's not forget, our blocks that only have 4 or 5 houses on it. So that's why I'm asking, if there's a wish list, let's put it forward. I'm not saying everybody's going to get what they want, but it's certainly something for us to continue to have good discussion on. And most of us already know what our needs are for the most part. I mean, even the public, for example, even if you have a meeting, 2 days in advance or a day in advance, the condition of your neighborhood. Like, whoa, if you gave me $1 million today, here's what I'd spend it on for the most part. And so I'm just asking, if you have a wish list, let's put it forward by 5 o'clock on Tuesday.
Sure. No, I mean, and I can understand that. I mean, certainly I've got a wish list that's a mile long for various projects in my ward, but I mean, one of the things that we've had discussions about is, using ARPA funds to, secure and stabilize vacant SLPS surplus buildings. I have an idea of what that might cost for one that's in my ward, but I have no idea what that might cost for, 9 other properties across the city. And I don't know how quickly, I would be able to obtain that information from SLPS. And I guess similarly, like even the example I just brought up with the street sweepers or trash trucks or tow trucks. I mean, tow trucks are a big issue as well. Getting derelict vehicles across our city. I could give a ballpark in terms of what those might cost, but I don't know for a fact. And, I feel like, and then in addition to that, it's a matter of, executing on that, right? So everyone can bring their projects forth, but I mean, if we don't know the costs that's associated with them, or what if we allocate funds and it turns out that we only allocated half of what's necessary in order to do this, it just seems as though this is rather quick to move this, amount of money through the process. But I'll submit my list by Tuesday. I mean, I'm just kind of scratching my head a little bit. I'm sorry.
It's okay. And we're not saying we need to allocate all the money, just like, again, we didn't allocate all the money with board bill number 2. So
okay,
we can't keep kicking the can down the road, right? We need to get our act together and really allocate these funds and get them out to the community.
Okay.
So with that, I don't see any other hands. Alderman Page, did I see you had a comment? Oh no. Oh, on the tow trucks, Alderman Cone, when I was chairman of streets, with all the surplus money, certainly before the pandemic, we were paying for at least 2 tow trucks a year. I don't know if that program is continuing to move forward in that way to share some of that revenue, but that is something that I had done. And I believe if we contact the street department, they can probably tell us how many tow trucks we need right away, because they've been getting them for the past couple of years. So with that, anybody else, raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I appreciate everybody's time. I'm going to consider the Housing, Urban Development and Zoning Committee for March the 3rd, 2022 adjourned. Thank you, everybody.